the
The hearings.
well, when somebody's just
Repeat
paying
what
their
you
games,
said.
go for the you know, shopkeepers who've been right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. So my name is Philip Wicks. I'm chair for this meeting. So may I welcome you all to the January 31st, 2023 meeting of the Planning and Community Committee of Woodley Town Council. Woodley Town Council meetings are now recorded, with recording streamed live and stored on the Town Council's YouTube channel. By virtue of attending the meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. If you do not wish for your image and audio to be recorded, then please do not stay for the meeting. The Town Council is consulted by Wokingham Borough Council on planning applications within Woodley, but the final decision of approved or refused is taken by Wokingham Borough Council. We will notify Wokingham Borough Council of the committee's views, which may include any comments and concerns expressed by members of the community affected by the application. If anyone has any comments to make on any of the planning applications, then you need to formally write or send an email to the Wokingham Borough Council Planning Department, that they will take the final decision on the application. Just a quick note for those in attendance. We are not expecting a fire drill, but if the fire bell rings, please leave quickly and assemble the Oakwood, just outside the Oakwood Centre at the front of Woodward Park. Thank you. Right. So if we can look at the agenda first of all, Matthew, apologies, please.
We have apologies from councillors Bragg and Nagra.
Have any declarations of interest? Oh, we're okay, are we? Item 3, page 5, you should see the minutes of the Planning Community Committee meeting held on the 3rd of January. Are we happy to take those as read and accepted? I think they were covered.
Yeah. We were asking for a vote. Yes.
Very much. So item 4 then is on page 13. We start with current planning applications. Take them in order as they come.
You saw I emailed it last night, wasn't it?
The first one is 223354, which is 79 to 81 Lodbridge Road. There have been several objections from residents, 2 very similar but not fully identical rear buildings to be used as gyms, each with a shower room and WC, situated close to the rear boundaries and of solid construction. Neighbour concerned about potential future use, as well as the deep base being common to both units. When I looked on the planning portal, I found there was some correspondence which related to the fact that they thought it was going to be just ordinary permitted development, but then they realised that actually you can't have the permitted development when you've got 2 buildings sharing the same footings. And I think that's really the main problem that some of the neighbours have been talking about. I've got comments here. One of the problems is the slab across 2 properties, which Carol has picked up. Richard, I'm surprised this doesn't fall under permitted development rules, as they are semi-detached. Not sure that the elevations and floor plans are the same. I would have preferred it had a bigger gap to the boundary. Excuse me. Keith has commented that the plans imply separate buildings, one in each of the 2 properties. If they were consistent with the plans in both separate buildings, could be built under permitted development, which is their comment. So do we have any comments?
I'm just minded the fact that it's going across 2 properties, and if one of them wanted to move house, or it just doesn't, it's not fair to a new person. Main thing, and the other thing, too far to the rear of the rear boundary.
Close to the rear boundary.
Yeah, so for that I'm against it.
Yeah, I think only the comments by the residents that I've seen is the fact that there is concern over its usage. I know that's not always a planning issue dealt with, but I think something that should be taken into account, but it won't be.
I mean, we usually make a comment to make sure that any outbuilding is not used as a secondary unit. Carol?
Yes, I think I quoted something in my, got my comment in front of me about, that they shouldn't be separated, or they should be separated and treated as, should be treated as two different areas of land. However, what will happen in the future, whether it's owned by two different families, it's still two plots and should remain so. So I think on those grounds, as that's part of the planning, I would say that we should recommend refusal and cite that. I don't know if you need to say, read what that says, but I haven't got it written down.
So are we concerned about the two outbuildings? Probably not. We're just concerned, are we, that they might share common footings and they might be close to the rear boundary. Is that our only real comment?
Yeah, because if that's the only reason it's not permissible under PD, then Right.
So are we likely to say no, or are we going to say yes, but? Keith?
I think it's quite clear in the planning document that it fails to be under permitted development because it's not within, apologies if you've already gone through this, I'm late, it's not within a single boundary. That's the reason. If it's interesting as we read my comments that the drawings are actually two separate buildings. And if they do that, then this is what I would do. You just say, do it, and it's permitted development, and you don't have to go through any rigmarole, except for taking it down as they built it. You know?
I mean, I did see some correspondence there, because when they were first talking about putting the planning in, they did consider it was permitted development. But then it was obviously drawn to their attention that you can't have permitted development when it's actually going across the boundary, which is what it's doing. So I'm not sure.
I think it throws up real problems when one person sells and the other one doesn't.
That's not a planning consideration.
I suppose that's not.
At all.
But it does, it's a big problem, I think.
So we're minded to object on the basis that it shares a common slab, and that's the only reason really for objecting, apart from perhaps the location being close to the rear boundary.
And my only caution is, I'm fine with objection, but common slab, etc. I don't think that is a planning matter. I think it would be a building regs matter. But I'm quite happy for it to be objected to.
So I'm looking for.
But I think it would be good to show our concern. And then if it turns out that the borough say and the planners say no, you know, that's fine. At least we've locked our concern.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I was supportive of you objecting to it, and I think using the quotes that I've used there, which is sending planning policy back to them, would be a good idea.
okay, so we're minded to object then. On those two. Okay. All right, thank you. Move on to 223788, which is 45 Woodway. New first floor roof dormer, 2 bedrooms and ensuite. Ground floor loses 1 bedroom, but the overall house will be 3 bedrooms. Minor ground floor extension to square off currently one-sided step. Other houses in the road have already extended to the lot to create a first floor. Responses back, no comment. There are bigger extensions of Woodway, no objection, and no objection. So are we happy with that one? Okay, fine. Thank you. 223790, which is 5 Beaufield Close. 4-width rear extension, new 1.565 metre deep front porch, 2.7 metres wide. I must put my scale rule out. Not dissimilar to the neighbour. I've got no comment, no objection, and no objection to that one either. So are we happy with that one? Thank you. 223799 is 42 Clivedale. Loft conversion with a rear dormer to provide a 4th bedroom. One of the first bedrooms being one of the first floor bedrooms being converted to bedroom study, full width ground floor extension. No comment. Although I'm no fan of the dormer, I think it's okay. I suspect that the dormer falls under PD regardless, and no objection. Those are the responses I've had back. So are we happy with that one? Oh, okay. 223813, 40 Clivedale, which is next door. Neighbour comments regarding guttering, but otherwise happy with the proposal. Ground floor, small area to box in the rear of the garage. And this is for an erection of a single-storey side extension, including some ground floor internal alterations. And I've got no comment, no objection, and no objection to that one as well. Are we happy with that one? 223828, 56 Caldbeck Drive. Household application for the proposed conversion of the garage to habitable accommodation, including raising of the flat roof, insertion of a roof window, and relocation of the front door. My comments are garage conversion to extend the hall and move the front entrance door, garage to become a family room, and there appears to be adequately parking which has been retained. I've got no comment, no objection, and no objection. Are we happy with that one? Too easy. 223829, 14 Bakers Place. Household application for the proposed erection of a single-storey rear extension with 2 roof lights. My comments: full width rear extension, which also links to the existing detached garage. But no comments. Does this meet the garden length requirements at WBC? Otherwise, no objection, and no objection. So do we need some comments on that one, Carol?
That was me. It was purely just, sorry, when I do this, I ramble away with my thoughts as much as anything else. I mean, if somebody doesn't want a garden, that's their business as far as I'm concerned, but I did wonder if it would get kicked on that.
It looks big enough to me.
But
It's got to be 10 square meters.
but yeah, I mean, I don't want no objection.
No,
No,
just happy that
people live how they want to live.
right. 223830, 180 Loddonbridge Road. Household application for the proposed erection of a part single story, part 2-story side and rear extension, single story side extension, plus changes to windows following demolition of existing utility room, bathroom and store. This is extensions to both sides and to the rear. Utility store extension from front to existing building line to replace existing utility room. On the right-hand side, similar existing stores removed and replaced with extension from front to the existing building line. Then to the rear, remove the existing ground floor bathroom and replace with new kitchen, the width of the existing house plus the width of the extension on the right. First floor extension to cover the new right side extension and a small extension to the rear to move to 4 bedrooms. Overall, this is a large extension and will end up close to neighbouring properties. Comments: extension takes up the full width of the plot, is very large. However, 182 seems to have done the same. Fair comment. Very similar to neighbouring properties of the same type, whilst I might be minded to object on massing grounds, the precedent seems to be set. Comment: this is one of the brand newly built houses on this plot. I agree with Richard about massing, but I think it would be difficult to object. Reluctantly, no objection. So does anybody want to make any comment about that?
Are there enough parking spaces? Would there be enough? Shouldn't it just have 3 at the front? And then this is going to be 4-bedroom.
I think that there seems to be enough at the front to cover it. Carol?
It completely covers the plot from right.
And I don't think it's new. It's one isn't new. It's one of the existing ones that they're extending. Looking at the Google map picture, but
I think it's when I looked at it, it was one of the 3 new ones that we
okay.
approved 6 months ago,
Yeah.
which surprised me, because why would you buy a brand new and then suddenly do extension sort of thing?
But what concerned me was the lack of being able to access for maintenance, etc.
Yeah, the front to rear is just
Not
through the house.
true. Isn't so much of a fault. I've had 2 houses where I couldn't get from the front to the back. So, but I think it is that maintenance issue, and should be some sort of gap somewhere. But very thin decorated. Point.
Does anybody else want to make any comment?
Oh,
Or shall we just say that we've got no objection, but we're concerned about the rear access from the front of the house?
I have a problem with that comment because, there is nothing in planning law that says you have to be able to access a rear from the front. There's dozens and dozens of places
Why
that are
not?
like that,
So many terraces like that as well.
Well,
It's the
yeah.
boundary to boundary that's a problem.
but there's no planning law to stop you from doing that. That's the point I'm making. I'm not going to fall on the sword.
Yeah,
But,
I just think because it's so similar to everything else around it, I couldn't,
It's difficult to object.
I don't think it'll look out of place.
London Bridge Road is a mix of.
Yeah, it's this and that, isn't it?
Probably struggle to find two houses.
It'd be-
Yeah, so that's right.
It's one of those ones that might be quite interesting to see how it comes back, but apart from being a learning curve.
Okay, so we're minded just to say okay. 230042, 12 Antrim Road. Application proposed erection of two-storey rear extension, single-storey side extension with single-storey front to create a porch and conversion of garage to create habitable accommodation following demolition of the existing garage and utility store. Two-storey rear extension, the full width of the house. The house remains as 3-bedroom with the master bedroom occupying the full size of the new extension. This creates a very large master bedroom. The ground floor extension to the left side for a store does not have a sufficient gap to the neighbouring property, 280 mil. The existing garage and utility room replaced with a slightly deeper study utility cloakroom does not appear to be sufficient for access from the front to the rear without going through the house, part terrace in effect. No objections, similar to other extensions in Antrim Road. Sounds a bit like the previous one, doesn't it? No issue with a garage conversion, existing brick walls. So although I would prefer a larger gap at the property, this does not really exist now. Not convinced about the second story. I believe this will affect morning light stability to neighbouring property, possibly one for the planners to check. No objection. So those are the comments. Does anybody want to say anything about that one? Or do we merely?
I think I'd be a little bit concerned about I went and had a look at it and scratched my head to decide whether or not I really had a problem with it. It's one of those ones where it was right on the boundary. And it was just because of the way it's situated, and there's a kind of a couple of semis 2 doors down or next door, I can't remember now. But I just thought, actually, if you came out there, the eastward direction is kind of suddenly knocked out into their garden for the 2-story. If it was 1-story, I'd be objecting to even having a conversation about it. But I just thought it might be quite nice to maybe ask if the planners could check the light or something like that.
Can I make a suggestion, Chair, that we register no objection, but would appreciate.
Yeah, that's exactly
looking
how
at
I feel
the
about it,
lighting.
actually.
Yeah, that's.
So that's so technical, none of us
Yeah,
here can.
exactly. And that was kind of why I was like, well, yeah.
You could be like the expert, the lighting, which
Well, it's
Lighting monitor.
kind of with a torch.
Next one is 230063, household application to proposed erection of single-storey rear and side extension. Ground floor to the right and behind the existing lounge. The house is on the corner with Shipley Close and the extension is on the Shipley Close side with no neighbour. This house is large. It's on the corner plot. However, we've now had some correspondence from a neighbour who's concerned about the removal of trees and the extent of the building line. They seem to believe that by going out to the, is it to the side, no, to the front, isn't it? That they're actually going potentially to take the little bit of amenity land outside the wall. So the size of the extension looks as if it's sort of going beyond the existing wall of the plot and taking some of what we assume to be their amenity land, but we don't know. There's also comments. I think Matthew had a visit from one of the neighbours today.
Yeah, so I had a neighbour come visit and was uncertain as to whether the proposed extension would actually go beyond the building line. So you'll see on this plan up here that this thin grey line seems to indicate the wall that's there. And he has checked the distance here, which is 3.152 metres, and believes that that is actually beyond the wall line that is shown on here, if I zoom back in, that he believes this pushes beyond, and that distance is far exceeds or is much shorter than 3.152.
I'm not sure how you could have actually measured it, because you've got the side of the house, then you've got the wall, and then you've got a wall there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you could potentially measure unless you use a laser stump or something there.
The other concern he raised was that the application states there'll be no loss of trees. However, he believes that if this extension does run in line with that or goes over that wall line, that actually there are trees that run along here. Obviously, there are no TPOs on those trees, but he believes those trees will have to be removed. And I think if you have a look at the overhead view there, that's kind of the approximate area that the extension will take. So those were the two concerns.
Is that Google?
That's Google. Google
Earth.
Earth.
Google Map. But it looks as though one of those is already gone.
Potentially depends. The issue you've got with the street view was in November, so I know that. So
Can you go back to
that it could be that bush there which has lost its leaves.
Have you got one where you've got the straight on?
So that's November. Can't see the date.
You had that one that was straight on
Oh, sorry.
picture.
It's that. It's
I'm sure
that
you're right.
collection there of sort of branches.
Well, and the tree officer will turn around and say that's not of any community value. No. The other ones, the tall ones, potentially. But the other, those little ones there.
Can I make a comment about the building line? Since there are two roads, so you're looking at the house from the road, there are two little bits that go that way. And it's barely in front of the house on that side. Does the building line really count?
I think the comment was about where the building
Yeah.
ends up. It wasn't the building line. That's just
It was both. They did mention the building line.
misuse of the term.
Oh, okay.
Who knows what's amenity land and what's not, quite honestly.
Would we register our concern, supporting the resident about where that extension will be in terms of wall and loss of any trees, but not to object?
Yeah, because on the application, if we were judging it purely on the application without that little nugget of intelligence, we'd be basically saying that's fine, wouldn't we?
We have, yes, because we,
But we've had a query which probably warrants some investigation, doesn't it?
so we're quite happy provided the extension doesn't extend beyond the current brick wall.
I should go with that.
Which encircle the property. I think that's what we're saying, I think, isn't it? Do we need to make any comment about the trees? Like 2 or 3 conifers, so like as much of a protective order on them. Okay. Move on, 230092, 83 or 83A according to which piece of paper you look at. Loddon Bridge Road, householder application for proposed erection of a single-storey rear extension retrospective. I have a belief that this may actually be built like this and was picked up, so they've actually put an application into.
This is next door to where the 79 and 81.
80,
This is 83.
when 83A
Same
was,
flag.
when
It's just,
I looked at the application for 83A and it was put in by 83.
Yeah.
Could be why that the application to put the extension on the back of 83A was actually potentially made by 83 and not
Maybe
necessarily 83A.
83A.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
The applicant.
So it's the ground floor rear extension, the full width of the house, it's already built, house is on the corner plot with the Richway. Would have been nice to see measurements on the plans, Richard. I'm guessing it's 4 to 5 meters deep. No objections. I think our only comment is that they should have got planning permission beforehand, but that's not a reason to object to what they've done. So So we
If
have,
this had been, if it is built, and I think you're right, and it's alert because of the 83 and 81,
79 and 18.
you know, where they started and then they were told that you can't do it. That I think is triggered this retrospective. But if somebody had complained and it went through enforcement, and saying no, enforcement, all they would do is not take any action, and it's called it being expedient. It's not actually worth the cost, the effort, etc.
just means they have to pay double for planning, doesn't it? I think.
No,
I
no
thought-
penalty whatsoever.
Oh, I thought for retrospective, it would go a bit more.
You might be right, but I didn't think you was.
Anyway, we've got no problem. Literally on the corner plot, I don't think it has any interference with anybody. Okay, and the last one is 230106, which is 44 Crocomore. Household applications, the proposed erection of a single-storey front extension, conversion of existing garage to create habitable accommodation, and a part single-storey, two-storey side extension. The existing garage and rear utility at the site to be replaced with a two-storey new build to provide a fourth bedroom. Existing front porch to be brought forward to create a new build in line with the new build on the same front start line. And it's the first house in a small group of 3 to have such an extension. I've got no objection. House is well spaced apart, lots of variation in the area, big plot with space around property, lots of parking, no objection, and also no objection. Are we happy with that one? All right, thank you. That really concludes the current planning applications. Item 5 is planning decision, which is on page 14, appendix 5. So they approved 4 Coppice Road, part single, part double-storey front and side, and they also approved 46 Buccaneer Close. We had too many objections to those two, did we?
Office Road is a 7-bedroom.
Yeah, and there's parking issues, wasn't it? But I spoke to the planning officer about that because we were going to list that one. He came back and said that it meets the policy, parking policy, and therefore it wouldn't be a justified reason. They couldn't see the reason, and therefore it wasn't a goer.
You needed to be more creative.
Neighbours there.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the neighbour back on really complaining about the working times and the working conditions. So I put that back to Marcia to have a look at because there's some contravention over sort of working times and the standard of workmanship. So we'll see what happens there, but it's not a planning issue, it's building control.
Building control, yeah.
Working times is planning, but the quality of the building is building control.
The other item was tennis courts, which we believe which has been withdrawn. So interesting to see what happens on that one.
He'll come back with a different design because there was a lot of public objection, wasn't there?
There was
Quite a few people turned
some
up.
rather heated discussions going on.
They can redesign, but they've got that bottleneck for that lane to get in there.
Yeah, that's the
They're
thing. Yeah,
knocking down buildings either side. It was always a big problem.
Access.
It's just
The
not
access.
wide enough.
if you had one house there, one nice bit, that wouldn't be a problem then, just to get,
Yeah, because if we say,
because it'd just be their own
It's their
access.
driveway, wouldn't it?
Yes, so, but he's done, the man who's bought the thing would obviously like a return on his investment and have more than one property on there, didn't he?
We'll see what happens on that.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on. Item 6 then, the planning appeals. 101 and 101A Pound Lane, Sonning. Erection of 4-storey, 70-bedroom care home. It's obviously gone to appeal. I think that was refused by Wokingham. Our only concerns were, I think, item 7. To note application for 2 Munro Avenue, Woodley, application 230041. Prior approval of the erection of a single-storey rear extension, which would extend beyond the rear wall of the house by 6 metres and for which the maximum height would be 2.4. Just really to note. Item 8, also to note tree set preservation order, a TPO at Woodland 43 Campbell Road, Woodley. Species unknown, proposes to fell and remove the roots. Hopefully.
Everything with green leaf.
You won't see.
Item 9 then, the Climate Emergency Subcommittee due to be held on the 18th of January was cancelled. And obviously,
I think that should be the cycling subcommittee,
oh, I think you're right.
just that I mentioned.
Maybe both of them, I guess.
Well, the recycling committee, do you say?
That's right.
Like it.
It is cycling.
The heading is, but
So
the
climate
details
emergency.
aren't.
Oh, right, okay.
My trick, that.
Joys of cut and paste.
So there will be an attempt to rearrange the subcommittee as soon as they can. Item 10, which is page 17, appendix 10, which is a call from Woking Borough Council, part of the local plan update for sites for potential gypsy and traveller pitches. And the deadline is the 17th of February. Do we wish to respond?
Don't have any space.
No, we don't have any sites for anything in Woodley, except what we want to put there.
If anywhere nice.
The interesting thing about gypsy travellers is they've got historical roots. They have travelled up and down the country for donkey's years. And if you put a site that's off that, significantly off that route, then the acceptability to that community is lessened dramatically. And that's why you'll find a lot of the existing sites are over in Finchampstead area that way, because that's a major thoroughfare for historical gypsy travels.
Okay. Okay, so I'm assuming we're not going to respond to that.
Yeah.
Fine, thank you. Item 11 then is the early station footbridge. Really, the only comment we've got is that it looks as if Wokingham are probably going to put their hand in their pocket to have some ramps and part of the bridge repaired, because that's all to do with costs, land issues, and obviously Network Rail's reluctant to put any money into the project.
And the gas thing.
Investment.
And SSE being
Which is the
fairly,
biggest issue.
fairly unhelpful with regard to what we can do and what we can't do. And from the meetings I had in the past, there's even a question about the limit of what we can do to repair the bridge. And that's got to be cleared by SSE as well. So there may well be problems on that. So it's, I don't think it's a final agreement, even as it sits at the moment. Has anybody got any comments to add on that?
I think pleasing that they're at least trying to keep it alive. I thought the temptation would be to close it. So, I take that minor win, albeit a stay of execution, I suspect, but
Cost is still going to be considerable, isn't it? I mean, if
It's
you
in the millions.
It's going to be seven figures,
closing of the railway, which is going to have to happen, isn't it?
probably. I can't
There's
imagine.
a considerable cost on that.
It's either going to be overnight working or it's going to be weekend working with the railway closed. It's going to cost an awful lot of money. Okay, we'll move on to item 12. Really just to note, page 19, the letter that we've sent out with regards to the car parking charges.
Can I ask that we record our thanks to Richard? I thought his letter was extremely good, well balanced, not just going on about this is rubbish, don't do it, but actually putting forward alternative options, which I thought was really, really good. So
I agree, Keith. Well done.
I can only apologise for a couple of typos that I've since discovered when I reread it.
I thought you could apologise for not doing it the first time.
Well, you know, I'm a very humble person, Keith.
No, it was brilliant. You're really good.
So I think we'll all support that. Con. On to items 13, community issues. Any recent community issues noted by members?
Can I just draw to the attention of all of us that the Local Government Boundary Commission has now issued their draft recommendations for the rejigging of all the boundaries in Woodland Borough. There is a consultation that's open to the 10th of April on their recommendations. The report is actually very detailed, very informative. The pictures are good as well. We were all told, as far as the town is concerned, we were all told that the changes in borough boundaries would not have any effect on parish boundaries. Wrong. There are some changes in parish boundaries associated with the borough boundary changes. They will potentially come in place at the same time, I assume, 2014. It goes through the process.
24.
Sorry, 2024.
Time flies, doesn't it?
I'm trying to recapture my youth. 2024. It is not clear, and I had a conversation with Matthew earlier, but I've written to the Local Government Boundary Commission to clarify, because it's not clear whether, since we've got elections this year, whether in 2024 we have to, just like the borough, go and redo all those elections. Hopefully not, but you then got a situation where you've got, there might be a partnership for whatever reason, and after 2024, what does it, which boundary do you use, it's, etc. So I have written, when I get an answer, if I get an answer, I'll pass it to Matthew and Kevin. But interesting times. Woodley, I think has done very well. But we have now got 3 borough boards totally enclosed within Woodley. So Bullish and Whitegate's recommendation was gone. Bullish stays with Woodley and Whitegate goes with Early. And then your adoption. Yes, which is so fine.
Just for reference, we got an official email after we spoke to you today about it. So it will be due for an inclusion for discussion at the next planning meeting if anyone wants to make any comments as a.
Can you send it around to all councillors?
Yes.
It's confusing. It would be nice to have it laid out.
Might be an idea to send it in advance as well. So we can
That's
have
what-
we can
that's what
have
I'm
it
saying.
now rather than wait.
We're also printing out the versions and making sure it's available in the office for people.
It's laid out very well as a sort of government or civil service type document. I was incredibly pleased. That's all.
Fine, thank you. Any other issues? No? Any highways issues?
Just one I'd like to mention, which I have mentioned to is the Colmansmore Road between Colmansmore Lane and what is Austin Road. There's been a continual problem with surface water. Now that's either, I know that Thames Water have worked on it, but I don't know whether there is still or whether it's bad drainage. But during the icy weather, it was quite dangerous on there. Because obviously it flooded and it did start to ice over. So it does need to be looked at again if it's not already being looked at. So
Just to bring you an update on any yellow lines that any of us are waiting for, or any of our residents are waiting for. They are in the bundle alongside over 70 other requests in what's called amendment #6. So I've got 2 in there from, well, the town council's got 1, which is Haddon Road, the football thing. I've got 1 in Church Road. And the scenario is that they haven't actually completed processing the previous one, amendment #5. And they won't start the legal process on #6 until #5 is completed. I think there's about 55 there. So it's ridiculous because #6 has been hanging around for over a year now.
It's hashtag long-winded.
Yes, well, it's a process. It's because when you put 74 requests in one place, it is difficult to manage. So, for instance, I know the people in Church Road, the junction Church Road and Buzz, have been waiting for their WO lines for about 18 months now. And they're going to have to wait another 6 or 7 months. But worth knowing. There's a lot of pressure on the officers and the executive member to scrap the existing system. It's got to change. It's not fit for purpose. And it's nothing to do with the current administration. And in many respects, it was nothing to do with the previous administration. It was officers who did it without really consulting. That's where we are.
Okay, all right. Anything else on highways? No. Okay. Item 15, then, you should have seen the CCBE bulletin, January 23, which Matthew has circulated. So if you've not had a copy, can you just drop a note to Matthew to ask for a further copy? Item 16, then, future agenda items. Anything else that needs to go on to the next agenda?
We're missing 17.
That's a secret.
That's the quickest agenda item tonight.
We would have been, but you actually mentioned it.
Yeah.
So, publicity website. Got anything else we want to?
Are we able to sort of highlight the fact that the town council, this committee, made objections regarding parking,
Why not?
so that we're active and that we're actively opposed to it as a council? Your view, Keith?
Would it be realistic to put the copy of the letter that we sent to Wokingham up on the website?
It should be in the public domain.
I think that's the difficulty, that it wasn't a straightforward objection, that it was keen to say, you know, how about this, how about that, unless you put the whole letter in. And I doubt that everybody would read that. So
Some might.
some
If you don't put it up, no one can read it.
but they can see it on the, you can reference people to the plans committee minutes or agenda.
It's an all or nothing scenario, isn't it? You can't just cherry pick bits.
Difficult Twitter one, isn't it? But
What's Twitter?
I don't know either. Keith, I've never done it.
Birds on the tree, you know, those green things that
Yeah.
you didn't know about.
Well, you know, completely ignorant bit.
We can publicise that.
This is called as a website rather than.
I suppose what we could do is put a note on the website which says, if you want to see what the town council response was to the parking issues, the car parking issues, please refer to, and then just put a link there to the minutes of the last meeting, which include also to this, which includes a copy of the letter. That's probably, then if people are interested, they will. If they're not, easy enough to do it. Yeah, do that. Good. Okay, thank you. Item 18 or 19, enforcement issues between cases 24 and 25.
Ask.
I'm trying to work out.
Five all sorts.
Breach of condition. I usually go through and extend those out. That's what it comes through from.
What Bank of China?
Okay, so the enforcement notifications, 24 roads closed, breach of conditions, reopened windows, and then 12 Gainsborough close, rear shed used for housing people.
That was concerned with the others. It's
Yes.
used for accommodation.
Used as accommodation.
That one I can tell you will not last long, because unless they change the law, planning law allows people to actually live in a shed or an outhouse, an outbuilding, as long as they take all their meals in the main house. It's a known fact, and it's an irritation.
If it's there, it's there, isn't it?
That's why, you know, they can put toilets in if they want to. They actually can put a kitchen in, as long as they don't eat their meals in that room.
Like people, if they want to work from home, they can have all the facilities there.
And I know that from good experience. Westminster possibly have an issue on that. Theresa May and myself both perceived that. In the end, we couldn't.
And then enforcement closures, we've got 53 Woodlands Avenue not being built in accordance with approved plans, application submitted. And 44 Nightingale Road, potential damage to trees, tree protection order not expedient.
Which means closed. It's closed now.
Closed. Once you've chopped bits of tree off or a whole tree, there's not really much you can do about it. Right, I think that draws the meeting to